Today, the angels are whispering an important message that you need to hear. The person who occupies your thoughts has been carefully observing each of your movements, or more specifically, the absence of them. This person, who may seem distant and even cold in recent times, is in a deep process of questioning. And their silence, their distance, and their more passive stance in all of this, have been sending signals to this person that they do not know how to interpret clearly. They are caught in a dilemma. Part of them believes that this distant behavior of yours is a way of saying goodbye, of ending something that, deep down, they don't even want to end. But another part, the one that carries hope, clings to the idea that you are just waiting for the right moment, gathering strength, or maybe trying to process their own emotions before taking any more decisive action. And it is at this point of uncertainty that they are living right now. What your angels want you to know is that this person, however confused they may seem, is deeply affected by your attitude. They interpret your silence as a mirror of their own uncertainties, as if you were reflecting to them all the fears they themselves carry. They start to think that perhaps you are signaling that something between you two can no longer continue. At the same time, there is a small spark of hope within them that still believes things can be different. This person finds themselves in a state of deep reflection, remembering every unsaid word, every interrupted gesture of affection, every message you failed to send. And amidst this confusion of thoughts and feelings, they constantly wonder, does she still want me around? Or is this the end? The silence between them has the power to amplify doubts, and they feel as if they are walking on a thin line. Every step they take seems uncertain, as if any wrong move could break something that is already fragile. And that's exactly what prevents them from getting closer to you with the intensity that, deep down, they would like to have. The fear of being rejected, of realizing that your silence means something more definitive, paralyzes them. On the other hand, the angels show that your silence has a greater purpose, something that they may not fully understand. You also carry your own insecurities, your own fears. And perhaps this distance is not exactly a conscious choice, but a natural reaction to the emotional weight that both of you have been carrying. Sometimes, silence does not mean lack of interest, but rather the need to find clarity. And this, they still cannot perceive. They watch you from afar, with eyes full of uncertainties and a heart torn between the desire to get closer and the fear that this approach may bring a painful truth. For them, your silence can mean many things: a preparation for something greater, an attempt to understand what you both really feel, or even a sign that, deep down, you are no longer interested. The angels say that they are fighting an internal storm. Their pride often prevents them from taking the first step, from being vulnerable enough to expose themselves. There is a constant fear of getting hurt, of realizing that the love they feel may not be reciprocated. And this puts them in a cycle of endless doubts, where each day without a word from you is interpreted as a step closer to the end. However, there is something powerful in what they share, something that not even silence can completely destroy. The connection they have transcends words. Even though the silence between them is creating invisible walls, what this person feels for you is still there, strong and present. And the angels say that, in a way, they are waiting for a sign from you, something that will make them believe that not everything is lost. They, despite all doubts, still harbor deep feelings for you. And even though they are afraid to admit it, the desire to be close to you still lives within them. They find themselves wondering what it would be like if things were different, if the silence gave way to sincere words, if the distance turned into a genuine reunion. These thoughts are like sparks of hope that keep them connected to you, even in a subtle and silent way. But there is something that they still do not fully understand. Your silence is not just a way to distance yourself, but also a way to protect yourself. You are in a process of self-discovery, trying to understand what you really want and what is best for both of you. And in the meantime, this person feels the impact of your absence, interpreting it as a sign that maybe they are no longer important to you. What their angels want you to know is that this person is still open, waiting for a sign, for an answer. And in the meantime, they continue to live with these doubts, with this uncertainty that gnaws at their inner peace. They wonder if there is still time to change things, if there is still a chance for you to reconnect. And the truth is that this chance still exists, but it depends on both of you being ready to face whatever comes your way. Their angels say that destiny has not yet been sealed, that there is something more waiting for both of you, but clarity from both sides is needed for that to happen. While this person tries to decipher the signals you are sending, they constantly find themselves going back to the past, reminiscing about every moment you shared. Every detail, not matter how small, becomes a piece of the puzzle they try to put together in their mind. They wonder if, at some point, they missed something important, a sign that things were not right. They try to understand if it was something they said or didn't say, some gesture that perhaps led to your distancing. For them, silence is heavy. It brings up all the insecurities they try to bury, all the doubts that before seemed non-existent. And now, with each day that passes without a word from you, they feel the weight of these doubts growing. They find themselves imagining scenarios, creating explanations for your behavior, and often, these explanations are not kind to themselves. They start to believe that maybe they weren't enough for you, that maybe you found something or someone that makes you happier. This person, even unknowingly, is projecting their own fears onto you. They believe that your silence is a reflection of your lack of interest, and not of an internal process you might be going through. And this belief often pushes them further away from you. They start building barriers around themselves, as a way to protect themselves from a pain they believe is inevitable. They think that if they distance themselves emotionally now, the fall will be less painful in the future. But the angels are saying that, in reality, their silence is not a message of disinterest. It carries a depth that they, with all their insecurities, cannot perceive. What they still don't understand is that you are also dealing with your own fears and uncertainties. The distance is not a reflection of the importance they have for you, but rather a way to process everything that's going on. Perhaps you feel that, at this moment, you need space to better understand your feelings, or maybe you're afraid of making the wrong decision. Meanwhile, they remain in a state of emotional alertness. They find themselves analyzing every gesture of yours, every message, or lack thereof, every interaction. They search for signs that may indicate what is to come, but all they find is silence. And to them, that silence screams. It screams with all their doubts, with all the fears they've tried to bury. And little by little, they start to lose hope that things can go back to how they were before. But the angels want you to know that they are still open to you. They still wish that things could work out, that this phase is just a temporary moment of uncertainty. However, the time you spend without communication is creating a chasm that, each day, becomes harder to cross. The emotional distance, which once seemed like a small crack, now becomes a deep hole that grows harder to ignore with each passing day. They want to understand what's going on, but they don't know how to ask without seeming needy or desperate. And so they choose to remain silent as well, believing that maybe this is the best way to deal with the situation. They don't want to pressure you, they don't want to be the one who forces something that maybe shouldn't happen. But, at the same time, this silence hurts them more than they are willing to admit. And amidst all this, they find themselves in a cycle of thoughts that don't let them be at peace. This person begins to create scenarios in their mind, imagining what could have been done differently. They start to replay every conversation, every moment, trying to identify where things began to change. And in each of these scenarios, they always end up blaming themselves for something. They begin to believe that if they had acted differently, maybe you wouldn't be in this situation now. Perhaps, if they had shown more or less interest, things would be better between you. But what the angels show is that, despite all these suppositions, reality is much more complex than they imagine. Their silence and their distance are not simply a matter of lack of interest. There is something much deeper going on, both within you and within them. And it is this process of self-awareness and growth that may eventually lead you to a stronger and truer reconnection. However, what this person doesn't know is that their silence is also being interpreted by you. You, just like them, are in a process of questioning, trying to understand what you really want. You're dealing with your own doubts, and amidst this process, silence seems to be the only response you can give at the moment. But what the angels want you to know is that if there is a genuine desire for reconciliation, there is still time. This person continues to think about you, even though they don't know how to express it. They keep imagining how things could be different, but the fear of rejection prevents them from taking the first step. And while they deal with these conflicting emotions, the gap between you continues to grow. However, there is something powerful in the love they share. This feeling, no matter how shaken it may seem now, is still present, still strong. And the angels show that, with time and the clarity both are seeking, there is a real chance of reconnection. However, it will require courage, from both sides. Courage to face the fears, the insecurities, and to finally open their hearts to each other, without reservations. You may be wondering if this person still feels something for you, or if they have moved on. And the answer the angels bring is clear: yes, they still feel. They still think of you more than they are willing to admit, and this silence that you share has been painful for them. But, at the same time, they don't know how to break this cycle without exposing themselves to possible pain. And that's why they remain silent, waiting for a sign, for a response from you that makes them believe that there is still a chance for both of you. The The time you are spending apart, although painful, can be seen as an opportunity for both to grow. This period of silence can bring important lessons about love, about what you really want, and about how you wish to build the future together. But for that to happen, it will be necessary for both to be willing to face the truths that the silence has been hiding. While this person tries to navigate through uncertainties and silence, there is a profound aspect of your relationship that continues to be present: the spiritual connection. Even if you are not communicating with words, there is an energetic exchange happening all the time. You connect in dreams, in silent thoughts, in moments when both find themselves reflecting on everything that has happened and what can still happen. And this connection, despite being invisible, is powerful and keeps you linked in a way that perhaps you still do not fully understand. They person, although they have a fear of admitting it, misses them in a way that is overwhelming. They try to fill the void that their silence left, but no other relationship, no other distraction seems to be enough. They find themselves thinking about you at the most unexpected moments, whether listening to a song you used to share, passing by a place that reminds them of both of you, or even in casual conversations with friends, where your name comes to mind, even if it is not spoken. And it is precisely at this point that the angels want you to understand something essential. Silence, although painful, is serving a greater purpose. It is forcing them to look inward, to confront their own emotions, fears, and hopes. And in this process, they begin to realize something that they were previously ignoring. You mean much more to them than they were willing to admit. Your distance has made them question what they really want, what they really feel, and if it is worth risking everything to try to reconnect with you. They are at a critical point in their emotional journey. They know that what you had was not just any relationship. There was something special, something rare, that few people have the chance to experience. And despite all the doubts and fears, they are starting to realize that they may never find that same depth again elsewhere. The angels show that deep down, they feel that you are destined for something greater, but the fear of being vulnerable prevents them from acting. This is one of the biggest dilemmas they face: the fear of getting hurt again versus the deep desire to be with you. They find themselves reliving moments of affection, of closeness, and this brings up feelings they believed they had managed to suppress. However, these feelings come back with more strength, especially in moments of silence, when external distractions are not enough to push thoughts of you away. They try to resist this force pulling them towards you, believing that silence and distance can protect them from a possible disappointment. But the angels are saying that this resistance will not last forever. At some point, they will be confronted by the reality of their own feelings and will be forced to make a decision. Either they step away for good and try to move on, or they decide to open up and risk everything for this love that, despite all obstacles, still consumes them. Meanwhile, you are also going through a process of reflection. The silence you both share doesn't just affect them, it also brings up deep questions in you. Perhaps you have wondered, on several occasions, if you made the right decision to distance yourself. Perhaps you are dealing with your own fears, wondering if this person still has a place in your heart, or if time and distance have worn out what you have built. But what the angels want you to know is that, regardless of all these doubts, there is something between you that cannot simply be erased by silence. You have been placed on each other's path for a reason. There is a deep spiritual lesson that both of you are learning through this relationship, and silence is part of that learning. It is allowing you to see more clearly what truly matters, what you truly feel, and if this love is strong enough to overcome the challenges you are facing. This person feels, now more than ever, that they are at a crossroads. They know that continuing to avoid what they feel for you will not work for much longer. The desire to be close to you, to resolve what was left unfinished, is growing every day. And although fear is still a significant obstacle, they are starting to realize that losing you definitively would be a much greater pain than any rejection they may face. However, they also need a sign, something that makes them believe that there is still hope, that this love is not destined to disappear into silence. And it is at this point that the angels bring a message of light. They show that, even though things may seem uncertain now, there is an opportunity for reconnection ahead. But for this to happen, both need to be willing to be vulnerable, to lay their cards on the table and speak the truth about what they feel. Silence may have helped to process feelings, but now is the time to break this cycle and open the heart, from both sides. This person is waiting for a sign, something that makes them believe that silence does not mean the end. And at the same time, you are also waiting for them to come closer, to show that they still care. It's as if both of you are at a standstill, each waiting for the other's move. But the angels say that for love to flourish again, someone will need to take the first step, break the silence, and allow the truth to be spoken. Their angels want them to know that there is a higher force guiding this process. Nothing they are going through is by chance. Everything has a purpose, and even the moments of silence and distance have a reason to exist. They are both growing through this experience, learning more about themselves and what they truly value in a relationship. And when the right time comes, they will be able to reconnect in a deeper and truer way, ready to build something even stronger. This person is at a point where, despite all the fear, they can no longer ignore what they feel. The angels show that within them, there is a latent desire to get closer to them, to resolve what remains pending, to pick up where it was interrupted. And although the silence has created a barrier between them, this love is still real and can still be rescued. However, for this to happen, it will be necessary for both of them to set aside pride, insecurities, and be honest about what they truly want. The silence may have been comfortable for a while, but now it is becoming unsustainable. They are ready for the next step, ready to find out if this love can indeed withstand time and distance. Now that this person is at a point of emotional breaking, it is important to understand that the fear that held them back until now is the same that can make them retreat completely. They are in a phase of self-discovery, facing issues they have always avoided. They realize that feelings for them have not disappeared over time, but on the contrary, have intensified. And that scares them. They know that by opening up to this love, they risk getting hurt, but they also begin to understand that by not opening up, they risk losing something even more precious. The silence between them was, to a certain extent, a protection, both for them. They used the distance as a way to avoid immediate pain, to try to process everything that was happening at their own pace. But now, that silence has become a barrier that, if not broken, can turn into a definitive separation. And that's what is starting to worry them, the idea that if they don't act now, they might lose you forever. The angels are sending signals to them, showing that the time to make a decision is approaching. They feel this pressure, even if they still don't know exactly what to do. And while internally struggling with these feelings, they find themselves more and more drawn to the idea of reconnection. However, the fear of rejection remains a significant obstacle. They wonder if, by breaking the silence, you will still be there, if there is still something to be saved. They are living a true internal battle. On one side, there is the intense desire to come closer, to resolve pending issues, to finally discover what you can build together. On the other side, there is fear, the fear that by taking this step, they realize that time and distance have already destroyed what you had. And this uncertainty paralyzes them. They keep wavering between hope and fear, between the will to act and the fear of getting hurt again. Their angels, however, show that their hesitation does not mean a lack of feelings. On the contrary, it is precisely because they still feel so much for you that this process is so painful. They find themselves thinking about how simple it would be to just send you a message, call you, arrange a casual meeting to try to break the ice. But, at the same time, the thought that you might not want that anymore prevents them from acting. On the other hand, they are also going through this process intensely. The silence that both share is not only affecting them, it is also bringing up their own doubts, their own insecurities. They wonder if by maintaining this distance, they are somehow letting this person go. At the same time, they wonder if they should really try to reconnect or if it's better to move on. What the angels want them to understand is that this moment of silence was necessary for both to grow individually. They needed this time apart to reflect on what truly matters, on what each of them desires from a relationship. But now the signs are becoming clearer. The silence is starting to become a barrier that, if not overcome, could be the end of this story. There is a path to reconnection, but it will require courage from both sides. They will need to be honest, not only with each other but also with themselves. This person, despite all the fear and uncertainty, still feels a very strong connection with them. And although they haven't said it in words, the angels show that deep down, they are waiting for an opportunity to get closer again. This feeling of being on the brink of something big is what is driving them now. They feel that if they don't act soon, they may lose them for good. And this idea haunts them. At the same time, they know they can't continue in this emotional limbo for much longer. The silence has been comfortable to a certain extent, but now it is starting to erode what little hope remained. The angels want you to know that they are closer to making a decision than you imagine. And that decision can change everything between them. If they find the necessary courage to break the silence, to be honest about what they feel, there is a great chance that you can reconnect in a stronger and more mature way. However, for this to happen, you also need to be willing to open up, to welcome them back with open arms, without judgments, without grudges. This is a crucial moment in your story. Silence was a refuge, but now it is becoming a prison. And the angels show that, although it's scary, It's time to break down that barrier and allow the truth to surface. This person needs to feel that you are still willing to fight for this love, that silence does not mean a final goodbye. There is something much bigger at play here. This relationship was not a coincidence, not just a passing phase. It has a deep meaning, a spiritual reason that you are still uncovering. What you are experiencing now is part of this growth process, both individually and as a couple. And although silence has been a necessary part of this path, it does not have to be the end. You have the power to change the course of this story. If there is still love, if there is still a desire to reconnect, the angels are saying that this is the time to act. This person is waiting for a sign from you, something that makes them believe that everything you have experienced together still holds value, that there is still a chance to start over. But for that to happen, both of you will need to set aside pride, open your hearts, and be willing to face the fears that silence helped to conceal. Your angels are by your side, guiding you through this process. They want you to know that true love always finds a way to overcome obstacles, but it only happens when both are willing to commit, to fight for that feeling. Silence may have been a form of protection, but now it is becoming a burden that they no longer need to carry. It's time to break the cycle and allow love to speak louder. This person, despite all doubts, still feels something very strong for you. And although fear has prevented them from acting so far, they know they cannot continue like this for much longer. They need a sign, something that makes them believe it's worth the risk, that it's worth fighting for the two of you. And that sign may be simpler than you imagine. A message, a call, a gesture that shows that silence is not a goodbye, but just a temporary pause. The angels say that your future is still being written. And although silence has created a gap between you, this gap can be overcome with honesty, vulnerability, and love. Both need to be willing to open up, to express what they really feel, without fear of what the other may think. Only then can you find out if this love is strong enough to withstand time and difficulties. Now, we are reaching the point where truths need to be spoken. This person, so tormented by the silence and the distance between you, is about to make an important decision. They feel they can no longer postpone facing their feelings. The angels are whispering in their heart, encouraging them to confront the fear that has prevented them from moving forward. And as much as they have tried to hide, run away, or ignore what they feel for you, the truth is that this feeling remains alive, unshakable, waiting only for an opportunity to resurface. This person has been wondering repeatedly what could have been different between them. They wonder if, at some point, they would have made better choices, said the right words, if that would have changed the course of things. And although they know that the past cannot be changed, there is something inside them that still believes in a future with you. And that hope, however fragile it may seem, is what has kept them connected to you, even amidst the silence. The angels want you to understand that this relationship has not come to an end. There is a new opportunity unfolding, a chance for reconnection that can only be seized if both are willing to open their hearts and face what the silence has helped to hide. The love you share is still there, waiting for a moment of clarity, for an opportunity to bloom again. But for that to happen, it will be necessary for you to face your deepest fears, to allow vulnerability and truth to be the foundations of this new beginning. This person, despite their fear of getting hurt, is ready to do something they have never done before, to open up completely. They are realizing that the greatest pain doesn't come from rejection, but from uncertainty, from not knowing what could have been if they had had the courage to fight for you. And it is this realization that is beginning to drive them into action. They feel that if they don't try now, they might lose you forever. And this idea, more than anything else, is motivating them to face the silence and take action. However, it is important for both of you to be prepared for what is to come. Breaking the silence and facing the truths will not be easy for either of them. They will have to revisit old wounds, talk about the fears and insecurities that drove them apart, and most importantly, they will be challenged to trust again. What the angels show is that, despite all this, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. If they are both willing to leave the past behind and build something new, this relationship can become stronger than ever. The silence that once seemed unbearable can turn into fertile ground for new conversations, new discoveries, and eventually, a new way of loving. They are ready to take the first step, but they need to feel that you are also willing to walk alongside them. It won't be an easy process, but the angels are saying that the effort is worth it. This love is not common, it is special, and should not be easily discarded. They feel in their heart that there is more between you than words spoken or unspoken can express. There is a deep, almost spiritual connection that has kept you connected, even when everything seemed to be falling apart. And it is this connection that makes them believe that, despite the silence, there is a chance for reconciliation. However, for this to happen, both must be willing to start over, to build a new path together, based on honesty and trust. The angels want you to know that this is your chance to turn this silence into a fresh start. The fate has not been sealed yet, and the future of both of you depends on the choices you make now. If there is still love, if there is still a genuine desire for reconnection, this might be the moment when everything changes for the better. Now, it's time to make a decision. Are they ready to break the silence and give this love a new chance? Are they willing to open up, to be vulnerable, to speak the truths that silence has helped to hide? That person is waiting for a sign, something that makes them believe that it's still worth fighting for both of them. And if they also feel that there is something more, something that has not been said yet, this is their opportunity to change the course of this story. The angels are by their side, ready to guide them through this process of healing and reconnection. They know that the silence was painful, but they also understand that it was necessary for both to grow and emotionally mature. Now, with this new perspective, they are ready to build something stronger, truer, something that withstands time and adversity. That person, despite all the fear, is ready to take a risk. They are willing to open their heart and express their feelings, but they need a sign that they are also ready for this journey. And if they feel the same, if the love they shared is still alive within them, now is the time to act. The future is in their hands. The silence may have been comfortable for a while, but now it has become unsustainable. It's time to open their heart, to let love speak louder than fear, and to build a new path together. True love, the kind that withstands time, is built with courage, patience, and trust. And they have the chance to do so, if they are willing to take the first step. In the end, the angels want them to know that everything is happening as it should. They needed this time apart to grow, to learn, to reconnect with what truly matters. Now, with the silence broken, they have the opportunity to write a new chapter, to create a love story that is strong enough to overcome any obstacle. Now that the truths have been revealed, the moment is crucial. The silence that once seemed insurmountable now appears as fertile ground for a new beginning. But this depends on you and on them being willing to take the first step, break down the barriers, and allow love to speak louder. The angels have guided you this far, and now it's time to act. Do not let fear or pride interrupt what could still be a beautiful love story. If you believe there is still something to experience by their side, it's time to show it. The future of both of you is waiting, ready to be built with more strength and truth. If this message touched your heart and you feel there is a greater purpose in what you are experiencing, don't hesitate to like this video. This not only shows that you are committed to your journey, but also helps us reach more people who need to hear these words. Furthermore, if you wish to keep receiving messages like this, subscribe to the channel. There are many more angelic revelations waiting for you, and you won't want to miss the upcoming powerful messages. And of course, don't forget to turn on the notification bell. This way, you will be notified whenever a new message from the angels is shared, and you will continue receiving the signs and guidance you need for your journey of love and spiritual growth. If this message resonated with you, write in the comments, "I am ready to open my heart and let love speak louder." This not only reaffirms your commitment to your own journey, but also creates a powerful energy of attraction that can transform everything around you. Remember, you are guided and protected by the angels. True love awaits you, and this is just the beginning of a new stage full of blessings and light. See you in the next video, where the angels have even more revelations for you.